At the pristine shores of Bali, Indonesia, the American billionaire CEO freezes in shock after spotting his ex with identical twins. He was a force of nature, an American tech tycoon who reshaped the world of quantum computing. She was the one equation he couldn't solve, so he prioritized his empire over her soul. 6 years of relentless innovation, 6 years of isolation, until he sees her on the beach with 2 mirror image little girls. Their features echo his own. His fiancée clings to his side, oblivious. His flawlessly engineered life has just crashed into the ruins of his forsaken history, and the man who never wavered is on the verge of shattering. This is the tale of the billionaire who traded love for legacy and the woman who nurtured his bloodline in solitude. Welcome to a romance that defied logic, it simply endured. Hey everyone, I'm thrilled to return with another pulse-pounding American-Asian love saga that's sure to take your breath away. Before we plunge into this billionaire CEO's earth-shattering revelation, smash that like button if you're hooked on epic family reunions. I spot you all tuning in. Drop a comment with your country's flag so our worldwide community can link up in the comments. And if you're new here, hit subscribe and tap the bell icon to catch every twist in this mesmerizing series. All right, let's dive deeper into the narrative. The Bali beach shimmered like emeralds scattered across its golden sands. Alexander Chen strode across it as if he commanded every wave lapping at the shore, because in essence he did. Not the beach outright, but the ultra-exclusive villa resort that overlooked it, the elite security team, warding off intruders, the invisible shield of affluence that distanced him from the mundane world. At 35, he'd conquered the realm of power. His company, Quantum Nexus, had pioneered quantum computing breakthroughs that left rivals in ruins. His systems decrypted complex data with eerie precision. His fortune had surpassed the tens of billions long ago. Markets quivered at his social media posts. Yet as he strolled that idyllic beach, his fiancée Victoria draped elegantly on his arm like a high-end designer piece, he couldn't resist glancing at his smartwatch. 7 alerts, 4 critical emails, a stock dip in Tokyo that demanded his input. Even in this tropical haven, Alexander stayed chained to the dominion he'd forged. Victoria seemed unfazed. She was engrossed in curating their getaway for her 4 million Instagram followers, the ideal social media starlet for a tech overlord. Her emerald bikini artfully exposed just the right amount of skin to go viral without seeming vulgar. The sapphire on her finger gleamed in the sunlight, its 6 carats impeccably synced with her endorsement deals. Their impending nuptials had already locked in features in 4 top magazines. Everything was impeccable, precisely as he'd orchestrated, until he glimpsed her near the ocean's edge, half hidden by a vibrant palm frond umbrella. A woman lounged observing 2 tiny girls constructing an intricate sand palace. Her outline was achingly recognizable, the same graceful arch of her back, the same subtle lean to the left when deep in thought. Resilient, yet tender, like someone who'd mastered bearing burdens gracefully. Alexander Chen's pulse halted before his mind could catch up. Why Sophia? 6 years dissolved in a blink. He was 29 once more in her cozy loft at 3 a.m., gazing at her slumber for the final time. He brushed a kiss on her brow, whispered regrets, vanished before dawn. Because the funding pitch from Victoria's father promised worldwide dominance meant relocating to Silicon Valley, meant elevating the company above all else. He'd rationalized it as necessary that Sophia would meet someone who could offer the security she merited. That affection was an extravagance innovators couldn't indulge when teetering on the brink of global transformation. He'd selected the throne. He'd deserted the sole individual who'd grasped both his genius and his fractures, and he'd never glanced rearward, couldn't for retrospection implied error. Alexander Chen committed no errors. His code was impeccable. His corporate tactics were unassailable. His existence was a meticulously refined formula. But now she was 40 yards distant and not solitary. 2 little girls encircled her identical, right down to their focused demeanors, as they labored on their sand edifice, They appeared no older than 5. Their raven hair cascaded over their brows identically as they fixated on their masterpiece. One girl, marginally taller, maybe persistently reconstructed a turret that crumbled repeatedly. Her irritated scowl, the furrowed brows, the determined purse of lips, Alexander's frame chilled. That was his scowl, his precise reaction when simulations failed. The identical expression from his boyhood snapshots when a riddle stumped him. It was akin to peering into a reflective pool echoing yesteryears. The crystal tumbler he'd gripped splintered on the sand. Victoria whirled, alarmed by the crash, but Alexander couldn't register her inquiries. Reality had condensed into one inconceivable fact: he had daughters. 2 of them, and he'd been ignorant of their existence. His legs propelled him forward before cognition could intervene. Victoria's grasp slid from his elbow as he advanced toward the umbrella, toward Sophia, toward the 2 girls now pivoting at the noise of shattered glass. And when they faced him, Alexander beheld his own eyes gazing back duplicated. The same almond shape, the same piercing intensity, the same scrutinizing stare that had unnerved board members across conference tables. 10 paces away he halted. Sophia had detected him now. She rose deliberately, instinctively positioning herself between him and the girls. Her visage shifted from bewilderment to identification to something sterner, icier. 6 years of desertion solidified in her gaze. "Mommy, that man broke his glass. Pray," one girl remarked, gesturing. Sophia didn't avert her eyes from Alexander. Her hand extended backward to graze her daughter's shoulder, shielding ferocious. "Yes, he did," she murmured softly. "Let's head back to our villa. The waves are rising anyway." She collected their playthings with practiced efficiency, her gaze never straying from Alexander's countenance. He parted his lips, but no utterance emerged. What could he articulate? "I'm sorry, I didn't know." I would have remained if aware. All fabrications. He'd elected 6 years prior. The smaller girl regarded Alexander inquisitively, head cocked in that identical manner Sophia employed when dissecting a thorny algorithm. For an instant, something akin to familiarity sparked in the child's eyes. Not recollection, but an innate, hereditary acknowledgement. Victoria materialized at Alexander's flank. "Alex, what's the matter? Who is—" Sophia's glance darted to Victoria, to the enormous engagement ring, back to Alexander. An emotion traversed her features. Agony, acceptance, resolve. Then she beamed not at him, but at her daughters. "Come on, my clever girls. Race you to the villa." The twins dashed off across the sands, their small limbs churning wildly as they giggled. Sophia bestowed Alexander one final glance, a glance encapsulating 6 years of hardship, of sorrow, of forging beauty from his rejection. Then she pivoted and departed. Alexander stood petrified, his heart pounding against his chest like it sought liberation. He'd confronted industry adversaries, endured 4 merger wars, erected a quantum empire on precision and dominance. But witnessing Sophia retreat with his children, that fractured something core within him. "Alex, who was that woman?" Victoria's tone sharpened, now slicing through the din in his ears. "And why do those girls resemble you?" He couldn't respond, for the tech prodigy, who'd forsaken love 6 years ago, had just comprehended the toll of his impeccable formula. And the billionaire, impervious to missteps, was poised to crumble to his knees in the sand. Whoa, can you fathom Alexander just abandoning true love for his corporation? If you're reeling emotionally, hit that like button hard. And I notice viewers from everywhere joining drop your nation's emoji in the comments so I can spot where my fantastic fans hail from. If you're loving this tale, ensure you're subscribed, as next week I'll drop another mind-blowing story you can't skip. Now let's uncover what transpires when Alexander confronts Sophia. Alexander didn't recall departing the beach. One moment he was rooted in the sand, observing Sophia vanish, with his daughters, and the next he was in his opulent villa suite, staring blankly while his aide postponed his afternoon conferences. Victoria paced the space, her beach sarong swapped for a sleek black sundress that likely exceeded most folks' weekly wages. Her impeccably polished nails clicked against her smartphone with growing intensity. "Are you going to clarify?" she demanded at last. Or should I scour the internet to uncover who your beach acquaintance is? Alexander's jaw clenched. An ex from before us. I deduced that. Victoria's voice was arctic. And the children, he remained mute. What could he declare that he'd just unearthed? He was apparent that the woman he ditched to construct his realm had reared his daughters solo for 5 years. Victoria chuckled, frosty and deliberate, the chuckle she deployed at gala events, when schmoozing despised contacts. Of course. How inconvenient for our image. Victoria, don't... She lifted one flawlessly groomed hand. We have the Quantum Summit tomorrow. The Lang Consortium will attend. Your no-show would be observed. She ironed non-existent creases from her attire. So we'll address this later when you've resolved. If you're the quantum pioneer I consented to wed, or merely another guy led by impulses. The suite door shut behind her with a gentle, conclusive snap. Alexander lingered in the hush. His phone vibrated incessantly. Dispatches from his leadership team reports on the Tokyo stock fluctuation, a licensing dispute requiring prompt action. The typical crises that validated his being. He disregarded them all. Instead, he accessed a contact untouched for 6 years, Marcus Lee, Chief of Security. I need intel. Tonight. The response arrived instantly. Name... Alexander paused, his fingers suspended over the keys. Then he entered Sofia Rodriguez, currently at Ubud Beach in a rented villa. 2 daughters about 5 years old. Need address, contact, career status, everything. Understood. 1 hour. Alexander reclined, shutting his eyes. 1 hour. In 1 hour, he'd know her residence, her occupation, how she'd endured 6 years alone with 2 kids, his kids. The notion was a dagger twisting in his torso. He'd always been cautious, always. But there was that final night when caution appeared futile, when he'd embraced her, as if the universe was imploding, because, for them, it was. And now he had daughters. 2 flawless, improbable daughters who viewed him as an outsider, who knew him not at all. His villa suddenly seemed vast vacant, despite its extravagance. Alexander gazed out at the ocean panorama that commanded $15,000 nightly and sensed only emptiness. At the exact 1 hour threshold, his phone hummed. Marcus Lee's dossier was exhaustive, thorough, crushing. Sofia Rodriguez, age 34. Founder and CEO of Nexus Innovations. Current home Tokyo, Japan. Relocated from New York 5 years, 11 months ago. Daughters twin girls, age 5. Isabella and Isla Rodriguez. Birth records list mother only. No father noted. Firm valuation $350 million. Latest funding cycle concluded 8 months ago, $70 million. No legal issues. No liabilities. No present romantic ties. Extra notes, Bali getaway seems spontaneous. Reserved villa 4 days prior. Return flight to Tokyo, booked for tomorrow afternoon. Alexander perused it 4 times. Nexus Innovations, she'd established her own enterprise, valued at $350 million. She'd shifted to Tokyo, his ancestral homeland, where his extended family resided. For almost 6 years, she'd nurtured his daughters in the same nation as his kin, and she'd never sought a thing from him. No alimony, no ultimatums, no public scandals. Just quiet. He didn't know if to revere her or demolish something. His phone buzzed anew, a text from an anonymous number. Beached on, come unaccompanied. His heart almost ceased. It was her. He didn't query how she'd acquired his digits. Sophia had always been ingenious, the type of intellect that could breach a network merely to demonstrate feasibility. He replied forthwith, I'll be there. No acknowledgement. Alexander sat in obscurity till morn, observing the moon shimmer on the sea. Tomorrow he'd confront her. Tomorrow he'd discover his daughters. Tomorrow the quantum maestro who'd forsaken love would need to justify deserving another shot. And he had zero clue what to utter. The beach at sunrise was almost forsaken. A handful of dawn surfers, a duo practicing Tai Chi by the waves, an elderly woman gathering shells. The sort of commonplace, serene realm Alexander had ceased noticing ages ago. He arrived premature solo, as stipulated, no guards, no aid, no Victoria. Just him and the burden of 6 years' repercussions. She was already present, seated on the sand near where the girls had erected their sand palace, The construct endured remarkably preserved, despite the nocturnal tide. 5 spires linked ramparts, even a miniature drawbridge. His daughters possessed inventive intellects. His daughters, the idea still seemed unreal. Sophia didn't pivot as he neared, though. He knew she perceived him. She'd always possessed that intuition and aptitude to detect his proximity before announcement. Your security squad requires superior encryption, she stated when he was 8 yards off. Her voice lured her voice, still the same rich mezzo that had guided him through quantum puzzles at 2 a.m., that had murmured hypotheses on entanglement while entwined in his linens, that had declared her love when he merited it least. "I'll overhaul the whole unit tomorrow," he replied earnest. "Don't. I'd have penetrated anyway." She turned then, and the full impact of her stare struck him like a blow. 6 years hadn't lessened her. If anything, she'd grown more radiant, keener, tougher. The gentleness he recalled lingered, but overlaid now with resilience, motherhood he discerned. Survival. "Sit," she commanded, not an invitation. He complied, maintaining prudent space. For a protracted moment, neither vocalized. The surf pounded the coast apathetic. Finally, Sophia sighed. "Why are you here, Alexander? You summoned me." "I mean in Bali, at this resort, in my existence again." Her eyes were steady and inscrutable, the eyes of a CEO, now not merely the fervent programmer he remembered. "Tech conference, industry elites. I didn't know." He halted. "I saw them, and they're mine." She laughed, biting and acerbic. "Now you observe." "Sophia," she raised a hand. "Don't you presume this is some poignant disclosure? You knew the risk. That last night we both did. And you still departed." "I had to." "You opted to." Her voice fractured faintly. "There's a distinction." Silence extended between them, punctuated solely by the waves. Alexander's fists balled against his legs. "If I'd known, you would have stayed installed a nursery amid your venture pitches, integrated parenthood into your quantum simulations." She shook her head. "You selected your firm. I'm not furious about that any longer. But don't revise the past to portray yourself as the casualty. I never claimed you don't need to. I see it in your eyes, the remorse, the sorrow, as if this is some universal blunder." She leaned nearer, her tone lowering. "You made a decision. I honored it. I progressed. And now you appear on a beach with your socialite fiancé and anticipate what precisely—" He lacked an answer. Sophia leaned back, encircling her knees with her arms. "They don't know of you." His heart lurched. "What?" "Isabella and Isla. I never informed them about you. They've inquired naturally, kids do. I told them their dad was in Silicon Valley constructing vital tech, that he couldn't join us but would be proud. You deceived." Her eyes blazed. "I safeguarded them. There's a distinction." "From what from me?" The words burst from her. "From your realm of 90-hour weeks and savage mergers, from viewing people as mere assets, to streamline from adoring a father who'd perpetually prioritize his corporation." She paused, respiration uneven. "I was raised fatherless, Alexander. I know that void. But I also know loving someone perilous, and I won't subject my daughters to that anguish. They're my daughters, too. Genetically, yes. But you don't get to saunter in after 5 years and assert paternity like it's another acquisition." "Then permit me." She scrutinized him, probing his face for authenticity evidence he didn't know. "Why now?" she queried at last. "You have a life, a fiancé, an empire. Why disrupt it?" "Because they're mine." "That's insufficient." "Because—" He stopped, the words snagging in his throat. Sophia awaited. Alexander exhaled, compelling himself to meet her gaze. "Because when I saw them, I saw all I relinquished, all I persuaded myself was irrelevant. And I realized I've been deluding myself." "About what?" "About surviving without you." The words suspended between them, unvarnished and sincere. Sophia's countenance remained unaltered. "You're betrothed." "I know." "So what are you soliciting? A chance to know them, to be something, anything." She averted her eyes toward the sand palace their daughters had crafted. "They're joyful, Alexander, secure, cherished. I've constructed a life for them, and I won't let you demolish it because you're experiencing a mid-30s crisis." "I'm not." "Then what you'll visit quarterly, act part-time, dad between summits, display your fancy lab, before flying off for another deal." She shook her head. "I won't inflict that on them. I would never, You already did. Her voice softened, now sorrowful. You chose that domain over me, over us, and that's okay. But don't request I let you choose them now just because it's expedient. Alexander's throat scorched. She was correct, utterly, devastatingly correct. He'd departed. He'd selected authority sway international conquest, and now he craved absolution without fallout. But Sophia wasn't granting that. She rose, dusting sand from her sarong. My flight departs tonight. We're returning home. Sophia. She paused, looking down. If you're genuine, if you truly want to be in their lives, then demonstrate it. Show me you can be more than a quantum billionaire. Show me you can select them, genuinely select them, not just when convenient. How? She smiled, melancholy, fatigued but not unkind. That's for you to decipher, Alexander. Not me. And then she walked away again. Alexander sat solitary on the beach, watching her fade into the morning glow. The quantum virtuoso who never floundered, the billionaire who'd fine-tuned every facet of his being utterly powerless. Alexander didn't return to his villa. He sat on that beach until the sun blazed overhead, scorching his skin despite his premium sunscreen. Tourists arrived with their patterned umbrellas and picnic baskets. Children squealed in delight as they frolicked in the surf. The world persisted indifferent to his halted universe. Show me you can select them, genuinely select them. Sophia's words reverberated in his mind like a verdict. His phone hummed ceaselessly, Victoria, his execs, the conference planners. He was slated to keynote in 4 hours, revealing Quantum Nexus's newest quantum encryption to Asia's premier tech moguls. He ignored every ping. Instead, he dialed Marcus again. I need more. More what I supplied all. Their school. Name dismissal time. What do they enjoy? What are they adept at? Pause. You want surveillance on kids? I want to know my daughters. Marcus sighed. Tokyo Global Academy. Ends at 3:45 p.m. Beyond that, ask their mom. Alexander disconnected. Tokyo Global Academy, the elite primary institution in Japan. Of course Sophia would demand the finest for them. He anticipated no less. But he didn't know their favorite stories, if they favored unicorns or spaceships, if they feared shadows or thunder or fireworks. If they could swim, if they despised fruits like he had in youth. He knew naught about his own daughters. The epiphany struck like a fist. He'd devoted 6 years to empire building, amassing dominance and riches and clout. He could recite revenue forecasts for the next 15 years. He knew Quantum Nexus's data throughput metrics across 21 nations. He could list every rival's flaws and exploitation methods, but he didn't know his daughter's preferred hues. What sort of father was he? The reply was straightforward, none whatsoever. His phone rang again, Victoria. This time he accepted. Where are you? Her voice was glacial. The summit commences in 2 hours. The whole sector awaits. I'm not attending. Silence. Then pardon? I require time to reflect on what your former flame and her timely progeny tale. They're my daughters, Victoria. So she asserts. The words dripped venom. Have you verified paternity, or are you accepting her claim? The query should have incensed him. Instead, it merely wearied him. I saw their faces, he said softly. No test needed. How sentimental. Her inflection altered, becoming coaxing. Alex, darling, I get this is jolting. But we've invested too much to let this derail us. Return to the villa. We'll resolve it, perhaps a settlement. Stop. The word emerged harsher than planned. They're not an issue to fix. They're children. My children. Another silence extended. When Victoria spoke, her voice had transformed, softer, more perilous. You're erring, Alexander. This field punishes emotion. Your foes will perceive weakness. They'll assault. Let them. And the woman, the girls. You think your domain won't impact them. You believe you can enact joyful family while steering a multi-billion conglomerate with antagonists from Seattle to Beijing. That halted him, for she was accurate. His domain disallowed tenderness, vulnerability, affection. Every cherished person became a leverage point. His aunt coerced by competitors until she retreated to Japan. His cousin, whose startup funding was sabotaged during a brutal market skirmish. Love in his sphere was armament, and Sophia had already proven astute enough to evade it. I must go, he said. Alexander, if you skip this summit, our betrothal ends. He paused, then uttered the most truthful thing in 6 years. I know. He terminated the call. For ages he simply sat, observing families relish the beach. Two trajectories unfurled before him, irreconcilably divergent. One led back to his villa, the Summit Victoria Quantum Nexus, and the meticulously curated persona of quantum innovator that kept stakeholders content and shares soaring. To security, to command, to the existence he'd forfeited all to erect. The other led to Sophia, to Isabella and Esla, to two little girls with his eyes and Sophia's grace, to an opportunity at authenticity humanity. But that path offered no assurances, no safeguards, just optimism. And optimism, in his experience, pulverized people. His phone buzzed once more, a text from an unknown sender. He nearly dismissed it, then spotted the attachment. A snapshot. Two little girls at a diminutive desk, heads bowed over what seemed an elaborate mosaic. Their expressions solemn, identical in focus. One in a pink dress, the other lavender, the sole differentiator. Beneath the image, a solitary line, Isabella and Isla, in case you wondered which is which. Isabella in pink, she's older by 9 minutes, and reminds her sister constantly. Alexander's sight blurred. Isabella and Isla. His daughters had names. They assembled mosaics. They wore contrasting shades for identification. One was 9 minutes senior and boastful of it. Sophia could have withheld this, could have boarded that jet and vanished into her Tokyo life, never affording him another opportunity. She owed him zilch less than zilch. But she'd dispatched this. A lifeline slender and delicate, but a lifeline. He gazed at the photo till his vision cleared. Committing every nuance, Isabella's head, angling right, Isla's fingers, fanned over the tiles the grave set of their matching lips. His daughters. His daughters. The decision abruptly felt inevitable. Alexander rose, stowed his phone. The sea extended before him, boundless and endless. He'd forged an empire on improbable choices, on preferring power over individuals, on yielding all gentle and pure for his ambition. But here now, contemplating those two earnest little faces, he grasped something. An empire devoid of love wasn't authority. It was merely a more elegant incarceration. And he'd been confined for 6 years. Too long. He dialed his aide's number. Cancel everything. The summit, the sessions, all. Mr. Chen, the stakeholders? I don't care. Family crisis. Tell them I'll rearrange when possible. Sir, is all well? Alexander glanced at the ocean one final time. It will be. Oh my gosh, Alexander is about to encounter his daughters for the first time. This instant warrants a like if you're invested emotionally. I'm eager comment below if you believe Alexander should pick his corporation or his family. I peruse all comments, and if you're savoring this narrative, adventure subscribe for more heart-racing tales that keep you riveted. Okay, now let's witness how these charming twins respond to meeting their dad. Tokyo in spring was a symphony of blossoms. The cherry trees in Yoyogi Park exploded with pinks and whites, a vivid counterpoint to the chrome and neon towers that ruled the horizon. Alexander had forgotten how enchanting his heritage land could be, how the breeze carried a distinct aroma, how the city's pulse synced with his own in ways Silicon Valley never did. For 3 weeks he'd resided in a furnished condo in Shibuya, near enough to Sophia's headquarters that he might, coincidentally, cross paths. Not trailing, he wasn't that lost, but rendering himself accessible, visible, committed. Every dawn at exactly 7:15 a.m., he'd appear at her preferred cafe, the detail courtesy of Marcus, who had ceased objecting to these intel pleas. He'd request 2 lattes, 1 black for him, 1 with almond milk for her, as she'd always preferred, and sit by the window. Sometimes she entered, most days no. On day 4, she'd glimpsed him through the glass and continued walking her look, a blend of irritation and something resembling intrigue. On day 6, she'd stepped in, spotted him, and marched to his table. "Will you do this daily?" she'd demanded, skipping courtesies. "Yes." No waiver, no rationale. She'd regarded him a long beat, then accepted the latte he proffered. "This signifies nothing. I know. You can't simply re-enter my life because parenthood suddenly intrigues you. I know that, too. Then why are you here, Alexander Truly?" He'd examined her, then really examined. Noting the subtle alterations 6 years had etched the faint lines beside her eyes, the fresh assurance in her stance, the ringless left hand. Because I've spent the last 6 years refining quantum-maximizing yields and crafting the ideal life theoretically. He'd paused, selecting terms meticulously. And I've never been more wretched. She'd rolled her eyes. Poor affluent guy. I merit that. You merit worse. But, she'd sipped the latte, seized a napkin, scrawled something. 3 weeks. If you're earnest about meeting them. Really meeting, not just appeasing curiosity, prove it. Come to this location tomorrow, 4 p.m. Don't tardy. The address was a modest facility in Harajuku, inside a youth center where disadvantaged kids learned basic programming. For 4 hours, Alexander sat with primary students, aiding simple scripts, fielding queries, witnessing their eyes illuminate when code executed. Sophia observed from the entrance, arms folded, expression opaque. The following day, he'd returned to find her awaiting. Different spot today, she'd said, handing another note. This time a pediatric ward. 6 hours reading tales to ill children, too frail to grasp books. Day by day, Sophia challenged him. A refuge for lone parents. A community garden in an overlooked district. A drive for laptops for underfunded schools. And day by day, Alexander appeared no gripes, no inquiries, no glancing at his device or departing early for calls. Just there, wholly there in manners he'd never been. On day 15, Sophia finally asked, "What about your company?" They sat on a bench outside the programming hub, viewing the dusk. Alexander had passed the afternoon instructing 12-year-olds about quantum bits. I've stepped aside. My COO manages operations. The board's disgruntled, but they'll endure. And the betrothal is off. Sophia scrutinized him, hunting for remorse or bitterness. Detecting none, she exhaled. You're actually committed to this. I told you I was. People like you don't transform, Alexander. Not truly. Watch me. Now on day 21, Alexander sat in a quaint bistro near Tokyo Global Academy, his heart thundering. This was the day. Sophia had finally consented after school. After preparing them, he'd meet his daughters. His palms wouldn't cease trembling. His phone had buzzed all morning. The Quantum Nexus board was in chaos. Whispers of his absence had begun impacting valuations. Rivals hovered, detecting fragility. Victoria's father had issued veiled warnings about withdrawing funds. Alexander had muted the alerts. None mattered, not today. At 3:30 p.m., Sophia messaged, "We're at the park opposite the academy. Red bench by the swings." Alexander nearly upended his latte in haste to depart. He'd rehearsed his words countless times, how to present himself, how to explain his absence, without deceit, but without overloading 5-year-olds with adult intricacies, how to be someone they might desire in their lives. The park was compact but immaculate. Alexander spotted them instantly, Sophia on a red bench, watching 2 small figures swing on the playground gear. His daughters. His breath caught. Sophia saw him approaching and murmured to the girls. They paused their play and turned identical looks of wonder on their flawless faces. Alexander's knees nearly buckled. They were tinier than he'd pictured from photos, more tangible, more wondrous. Both in academy uniforms, crisp white blouses, and plaid skirts. Isabella wore a pink hairpin. Isla had a lavender scarf. The color system persisted. Alexander stopped a few yards off, afraid to advance, afraid to exhale wrongly and rupture this instant. Sophia rose, her look wary, but not antagonistic. "Girls," she said tenderly, "recall how I told you about your father, the one in America building crucial tech." They nodded gravely. "This is him. This is your father, Alexander Chen." Silence stretched fragile as gossamer. Alexander knelt slowly, leveling with their eyes. "Hello, Isabella. Hello, Isla," he said softly, voice gruffer than intended. "I've yearned to meet you for a long time." Isabella with the pink hairpin stepped forward first, her expression earnest. "You look like us." She observed, not a query, but a fact. The logical one, Alexander realized, the one who digested data before feelings. "You look like me," Alexander concurred. "You have my eyes." "Where have you been?" Isabella asked, slicing to the core. Alexander glanced at Sophia, who nodded subtly, permission for honesty. "I've been in America building a company. I didn't know about you until 3 weeks ago. But as soon as I learned, I came as fast as I could." Isabella pondered this head-tilted processing with a solemnity no 5-year-old should have. Then she nodded once, accepting without censure. Isla lingered back, partly concealed behind her mother's leg, observing with greater caution. Finally, she advanced a tiny step. "Do you like star keeping, sir?" she inquired quietly. "I made a constellation at school, but it fell apart." Alexander felt something fissure in his chest. "I love stars. I made many that fell apart before one stayed. Would you like help with yours sometime?" A small smile bloomed on Isla's face, hesitant but genuine. "Okay." And just like that, the barrier dissolved. Alexander found himself on the grass as the twins displayed their favorite swings, their class crafts, their identical bruises from learning scooters. They chattered rapidly, often, completing each other's thoughts, sporadically disputing particulars. Isabella was the front-runner, rational, exact, already displaying the analytical prowess that had made Alexander a wonderkin. Isla was quieter, but more visionary, leaping ideas that often puzzled her sister. Together, they were ideally equilibrated logic and imagination, much like Alexander and Sophia had once been. He looked up to find Sophia watching her expression open for the first time in 3 weeks. Pain lingered and exhaustion, but also something resembling hope. And Alexander, who had quantified every variable since childhood, felt something forgotten joy. Pure, unforeseen, unrefined joy. For 2 hours, they dwelled in a bubble of exploration, Alexander learning his daughters, they learning him. Sophia intervening, occasionally translating when enthusiasm caused lapses into quick Japanese that Alexander's fated proficiency couldn't grasp. It was Isabella who posed the dreaded question, "Are you going back to America now?" The park hushed. Even Isla stopped mid-sentence about her star maps. Alexander looked at Sophia, then his daughters. "No," he said resolutely. "I'm staying in Tokyo. I want more time with you, if okay with you, if your mother allows." "Like on holidays?" Isla asked. "At first, perhaps. Then we'll see." "Will you teach me math?" Isabella asked. "Mom says I'm too young, but I'm not. I can do it." Alexander smiled. "If your mother approves, yes, I'd love to." "And will you help with my stars?" Isla pressed. "Of course." The girls exchanged a glance, conducting one of those mute twin dialogues outsiders couldn't decode. "Okay," they chorused. Just like that, the ease of youth, the magnanimity of unscarred hearts. As departure neared, Alexander felt anxiety surging. What if this was all? What if Sophia reconsidered? What if the girls opted against seeing him? But as they readied to leave, Sophia astonished him. "Sunday, she said quietly while the girls stowed their bags. "You can come to our condo. 11 a.m., bring lunch." "Thank you," Alexander whispered the words inadequate. She shook her head. "I'm not doing this for you. For them. They deserve knowing their father." She paused, added, "But, Alexander, if you wound them, if you pledge what you can't fulfill, if you vanish again, I will ruin you. Not bodily, not brutally, but I'll disassemble your company bit by bit. I'll ensure everyone knows you deserted your daughters twice. I'll make you rue re-entering our lives." He believed her utterly. The woman who directed a multi-million tech firm while rearing twins solo could absolutely obliterate him if inclined. "I understand." "Good. Sunday 11 a.m., don't be late." As Alexander watched them depart, Isabella and Isla waving every few paces until Sophia gently prompted them onward, he felt a realignment within. For years, he'd optimized for triumph, for dominance in a sector that devoured frailty. Now watching his daughters round a corner, he recognized the algorithm had been erroneous all along. The parameters flawed, the factors misjudged. Because nothing, not his firm, not his billions, not his quantum heritage, nothing warranted missing another moment of their lives. Alexander kept his vow. Sunday morning, 10:58 a.m., he arrived at Sophia's condo complex, bearing lunch sushi from Tokyo's premier spot and 2 modest gift bags. Not lavish gifts, Sophia had been explicit, but books he'd thoughtfully chosen. For Isabella, a vibrant intro to math puzzles, disguised as an adventure quest. For Isla, a manual on crafting simple star models from home items. For the first time in his mature life, Alexander was anxious, genuinely, perspiringly anxious. The condo defied expectations. Given Sophia's prosperity, he'd foreseen luxury perhaps in one of Tokyo's premier towers. Instead, it was a cozy 4-bedroom in a tranquil suburb, practical, not flashy. The abode of someone affluent but uninterested in flaunting. The twins welcomed him with more zeal than merited, promptly towing him to their room to exhibit their creations, their toys, their universe. Sophia watched from the threshold, her look guarded but not hostile. Over lunch, Alexander learned more about his daughters in 3 hours than about anyone in years. Isabella adored riddles and could read at a 3rd grade level. Isla had an eerie knack for designing patterns with anything. Blocks, cushions, even sushi rolls before Sophia redirected gently. They had distinct giggles, preferences, fears. Identical genetics manifested in wonderfully distinct ways. That initial Sunday evolved into routine. Every weekend, Alexander arrived with lunch, spending the day with his daughters, sometimes at Sophia's condo, sometimes at planetariums or gardens, or the kids' library wing. Gradually, warily, he forged a bond with these miraculous girls who shared his lineage but had blossomed without him. And gradually, even more warily, he reconstructed something with Sophia. Not passion that link had incinerated long ago, but a tenuous co-parenting alliance founded on shared esteem and the indisputable love they both held for their daughters. 5 weeks after that first encounter, Alexander's phone rang during supper at Sophia's condo. His COO frantic. "Sir, we need you back now. The Lang Group is advancing a hostile bid. They've snatched 15% of our shares last week. The board demands an emergency session." Alexander looked across the table. Isla was showcasing her latest star chart using chopsticks and rice. Isabella was meticulously counting how many more bites of salad she needed before excusing. Sophia was watching him, evidently having overheard enough to grasp. 6 years ago, he'd have been on the next flight to Silicon Valley. His company, his opus, was besieged. All he'd built was imperiled. "Manage it," he said quietly. "I trust you." "Sir, respectfully, this is grave. Victoria's father is orchestrating. He's claiming you've lost edge, that the firm needs fresh direction. Then schedule a press briefing. Announce expansion into Asian markets. Say I'm establishing our Tokyo hub personally." "Tokyo hub, sir, no plans for There are now." Alexander ended the call, then powered off his phone entirely. Sophia arched a brow. "Trouble in the quantum realm?" "Nothing vital." She studied him a long moment, then shook her head faintly. "You're really doing this? Choosing them? I told you I would." That night, after the girls slept, as Alexander prepared to leave, Sophia offered a mug of green tea and motioned to the couch. They sat in amiable quiet for minutes, the condo still except for distant city hums. "I loathed you," Sophia said eventually. "After you left. I loathed you so intensely I thought it might devour me." Alexander didn't interrupt. She deserved this. "When I discovered I was pregnant, I nearly reached out. Nearly." She stared into her tea. "But then I recalled your words. Some visions demand sacrifice. And I realized you'd already chosen." She looked up. "So I chose. I decided my daughters would never be anyone's sacrifice." "I'm sorry," he said softly. "For what it's worth, I've regretted those words daily since." "Not daily," she amended. "Only since the beach." He couldn't contest that. "You're right. I was cowardly. I convinced myself I was pursuing the greater purpose that my tech would revolutionize in ways validating any personal cost." "And did it revolutionize the world?" Alexander contemplated his quantum systems used for data mining, for personalized ads, for enriching the elite. Some security applications, yes, but nothing warranting his sacrifice. "No," he confessed. "It just revolutionized me." Sophia was silent long. Then she said something that shattered him. "They ask about you, you know. Before, when younger, why other kids had daddies and they didn't. I never said you chose to leave. I didn't want them thinking they weren't enough." Alexander's throat sealed. He couldn't speak, breathe, do anything but absorb the full gravity of his actions, not just to Sophia, but to these flawless girls who'd entered, wondering why their father didn't want them. "I'll devote my remaining life compensating them," he managed. "See that you do. But no malice now, just the fierce guardianship of a mother who'd raise worlds for her children." When Alexander left that night, something had shifted between them, a pivot. Not pardon, but perhaps the onset of peace. For 3 more weeks, the pattern persisted, weekends with the girls. Cordial, cautious talks with Sophia, the slow assimilation of Alexander into their world. He secured a condo nearby, planned a legitimate quantum nexus branch in Tokyo, shaped a new future centering his daughters, not as afterthought, but as the axis around which all rotated. For the first time in 6 years, Alexander could respire like he was advancing towards something authentic, not pursuing the next merger innovation hollow victory. Then on a flawless spring Sunday, as he constructed origami stars with his daughters at a small park outside Tokyo, an echo of that initial sighting that altered all his phone buzzed with a notification that iced his blood. A photo of the twins exiting school yesterday. One word below, located. Then a second text from Victoria's father. Board session Monday, Tokyo Global Academy, 4 p.m. Bring your children or your resignation. Alexander stared, hands quaking with rage and dread. Victoria's father had located his daughters, was menacing them to manipulate Alexander, employing kids as pawns in corporate strife. It was precisely what he dreaded, his world contaminating them, endangering them. He looked up to see Isabella and Isla laughing as they folded paper constellations, unaware their lives were threatened. Sophia sat nearby, watching with the soft smile reserved for her daughters. Alexander gripped his phone so fiercely the screen nearly cracked. In that instant, all clarified blindingly. His company could crumble, his billions evaporate, his quantum legacy erased. None mattered. Nothing except keeping those girls safe, joyful, loved. The quantum genius who'd sacrificed love for ambition 6 years ago finally comprehended the flawed algorithm. The billionaire who'd optimized for success finally identified the missing variable. Family wasn't sacrificed for dreams. Family was the dream worth sacrificing all else for. As the girls summoned him to aid their origami, Alexander pocketed his phone. The clash with Victoria's father could wait till Monday. Today and every day henceforth belonged to his daughters, for as long as they'd accept him. Oh my goodness, what a suspenseful end. If you want to see Alexander's choice, his billion-dollar empire, or his family like this video, now to signal we need 15,000 likes to proceed next week. Comment your predictions, what happens next. Will he forfeit all or gain something priceless? I'm reading your ideas. And if not subscribed, do it, and bell on as part 2 drops. Soon you won't want to miss. Thank you for watching from Globally, your backing is everything. See you in the next heart-pounding chapter. One text, one image, and Alexander's universe imploded. The man who once traded love for drive now confronts the supreme trial of his values. Welcome back to the saga that captivated millions. Recall Bali? The shattered tumbler, Sophia's glare, those twin girls oblivious their father observed. He doesn't realize yet, but the empire he erected is about to weaponize against the family he never knew. Tonight all transforms. 6 years he pursued triumph. 6 years she forged fortitude alone. Now 2 realms clash, and one inconceivable decision will shape them. Do you think some loves are fated to return regardless of price? Or some errors too profound to mend? If ready for Alexander's next phase like now, the path ahead might restore your faith in atonement. The phone illuminated in Alexander's grip like a detonator. A mere photo of his daughters outside school, the 2 little girls he'd only learned existed 3 weeks ago. 2 little girls with his eyes, his traits, his DNA, but ignorant of his name. Children he'd deserted before birth, though unaware then. Or was he had some fragment suspected when he kissed Sophia farewell, in shadow 6 years ago, when he chose drive over their bond? That message, those words under the photo, board session Monday. Tokyo Global Academy, 4 p.m. Bring your children or your resignation. How dare they? How dare Victoria's father use blameless kids as pieces the same way Alexander had used people as pieces in his ascent to summit? The irony struck him. The potent quantum genius who forecasted every variable, but the vital one that his history would eventually smash into his now. That the woman he'd abandoned had borne his daughters. That the man who yielded love for success would someday choose what mattered more. But not thus, not with his daughter's safety at stake. Sunday night in Tokyo, and Alexander has never felt more frantic. This isn't the frenzy of a lost deal or plunging stocks. This is instinctive guttural, the terror of a father who's only just found his children and might lose them before they know him. He must alert Sophia, the woman he left, who reared their daughters alone while erecting her tech dominion. The woman with every cause to despise him, but somehow granted grace to allow him entry cautiously. tentatively with limits he has no right to challenge. Her condo isn't what you'd anticipate from a triumphant CEO, no. Lavish wealth displays no ornate elements. Just a warm, comfy home brimming with proof of the life he missed. Kids' drawings on the fridge, tiny sneakers by the entry twin beds with star-patterned covers. While Sophia reviews the menacing text, Alexander watches his daughter sleep. Look at them. Isabella and Isla 5 years old, and he's missed all. First utterances, first strides, first school days. 5 years of joy, tears, growth he can't reclaim. Years where they adapted without a dad because he was too blinded by ambition to consider else mattered. Isabella sleeps like Alexander did, young serious face hands, orderly at sides, as if even dreaming she tackles life with order. Isla sprawls inventive disorder, embodied a half-assembled star model clutched to her. His daughters. And some business predator thinks them leverage against him. The fury Alexander feels isn't the cool strategic anger of negotiations. This is novel primal, the protective wrath of a father who's only just learned what to lose. Monday morning dawns with merciless light. Alexander hasn't rested. The choice seems impossible, but for the first time, it's also crystal clear. The quantum genius who built an empire on data prediction never foresaw, never dreamed his perfect existence would fracture on a Bali beach when he saw Sophia and those two identical girls crafting sand palaces. Never thought his calculated life would boil down to this untenable choice. His phone won't cease vibrating. The board panics. Investors threaten exit. Victoria has issued a release about reassessing priorities. The corporate sphere holds breath, wondering if the great Alexander Chen has finally dulled. If the merciless innovator who transformed quantum computing has softened. If the man who never stumbled is finally falling. They don't comprehend. None do. They haven't seen Isabella's grave frown concentrating on a math problem mirroring Alexander's. Haven't heard Isla's thrilled star explanations breathless with invention. Haven't borne the weight of knowing those perfect children grew without him due to his ego. Look at his satchel. Look at the paper edge protruding Isla's sketch, a star family. Mother, 2 small stars, a taller one labeled Father in childish script. The future Isla envisions. The future Alexander never dared dream because dreams needed vulnerability, and vulnerability was frailty. At least that's what he convinced himself for 6 long years while Sophia raised their daughters alone. Alexander enters that boardroom at Tokyo Global Academy alone. Alone. The directive was explicit, bring the children or resignation. He's brought neither. The boldness of this man, this self-forged quantum billionaire, humbled by his own eyes, staring back from children he didn't know existed. Victoria's father presides at the table's head like a monarch awaiting homage. Gray hair, impeccably coiffed tailored suit. Crease-free, that predatory grin that sealed countless, ruthless pacts. He anticipated capitulation, expected Alexander to yield to pressure, to shield his cherished company at any expense, even child exploitation. He doesn't know the man Alexander has become in 3 short weeks. Doesn't grasp what occurred on that beach when time froze and priorities reshuffled in a heartbeat. Doesn't realize threatening those girls was the gravest misjudgment anyone ever made against Alexander Chen. The boardroom tension could energize Tokyo for days. Every member fidgeting, sensing something monumental, but not grasping the stakes. Not grasping they're witnessing a man's rebirth who spent 6 years measuring success in valuations and dominance. My family is not leverage, Alexander declares words a war cry. Like a man who's found something worth battling beyond ambition. Victoria's father believes he holds all cards, the Lang investment board backing media ready to chronicle Alexander's downfall. He thinks victory before combat starts. The hubris of the mighty who believe wealth buys everything, allegiance, ethics, even kids. But he doesn't know what Alexander did at 5 a.m. Doesn't know about the Chen family trust. Doesn't know the brilliant intellect that revolutionized quantum has worked overnight, not to salvage his firm, but to guard his daughters. As of 5 a.m., I've transferred majority stake in Quantum Nexus to the Chen family trust. My family controls 52%. The board can't oust me without their consent. And the Lang investment, it's unnecessary. Watch the news erupt across tech spheres by noon. Quantum Nexus upheaval, Chen secures control. Tech tycoon's hidden family assumes reins. Shares swing as giant faces internal revolt. The business world reels struggling to comprehend Alexander Chen's unprecedented action. The man renowned for logic and efficiency has made his most sentimental choice. The algorithm virtuoso has added an unforeseen variable fatherly love. Alexander watches share prices fluctuate on his device with odd detachment. A month ago, a 2-point drop would have triggered crisis. Now seeing hundreds of millions vanish feels trivial. What's wealth compared to Isabella dozing on his arm yesterday? What's valuation compared to Isla's glee when their star model glowed? But the fallout isn't straightforward. Nothing worthwhile is. Victoria's father won't halt. The Lang Group has too much invested. They'll seek other weaknesses. And they will, because Alexander's chief weakness now isn't his firm or repute. It's the family he's beginning to know to earn. Through his hotel pane, Alexander watches Sophia assisting the twins with school bags prepping for class, despite paparazzi uncovering their link. Look at her resilience. 6 years rearing his children alone while building a multi-million firm. Never whining, never seeking aid, never leveraging the twins, even when entitled. What woman does that? What man abandons that? When Victoria appears at Alexander's hotel that night, it's unexpected. Not the flawless social fiancée with couture gowns and pose smiles. This is a different Victoria denims and hoodie hair tied makeup free. This is Victoria sans facade walls lowered. You're a fool, she tells him, and perhaps she's right. Perhaps Alexander has been a fool his adult life, optimizing wrong variables, gauging success in irrelevant metrics. You've just marked them targets. She's not wrong. Victoria's father never loses. And Alexander just humiliated him before the board chose Sophia and those girls over the Lang Alliance. In that world, such choices exact penalties. The corporate arena claims victims, and Alexander has positioned his most precious to the forefront. But here's the turn no one anticipated. Victoria isn't here to menace or demand. She's here to caution, to assist. The woman meant to be his ideal match on paper, the strategic union his calculations chose, has more compassion than the math accounted for. My father isn't just furious about business. This is personal now. Of course it's personal for all. For Alexander, who found fatherhood 3 weeks ago and would incinerate his empire to protect it. For Sophia, who built without him and now ponders room for him. For those twin girls unaware their world shifts. And for Victoria, who knows best, being pawn in a mighty man's scheme valued not for self but representation. I never loved you. Alexander admits truth aloud at last. The liberty of candor after years of tactical deceptions. I know, Victoria responds. I never loved you either. Look at that, 2 people ready to base marriage on advantage, not affection. 2 who thought emotions irrelevant to success. 2 who nearly erred gravely before fate interceded on a Bali beach. The ensuing days balance between bliss and strain. Alexander discovering his daughters with the awe of a sightless man granted vision. The earnest way Isabella tackles every riddle needing logic before advancing. The inventive bounds Isla makes linking concepts uniquely. 2 perfect blends of him and Sophia complementary, not identical, despite shared DNA. Meanwhile, the business Alexander ruled for 6 years spirals into rumor and turmoil. Quantum Nexus shares steady post-shock, but competitors prowl sensing frailty. Tech media spawns theories hourly, each more sensational. Pundits debate if the family man shift humanizes the Chen brand or destroys the ruthless efficacy that made Quantum Nexus global. Sophia confronts her trials. Nexus innovations suddenly scrutinized not for groundbreaking tech, but its CEO's tie to Alexander Chen. Female tech writers laud her self-made triumph. Male investors query if emotions cloud the intercompany dynamic. Everyone opines on the woman who raised tech billionaire Alexander Chen's secret heirs while forging her empire quietly. I never wanted this spotlight. Sophia tells Alexander as they watch the twins in her condo security now discreetly posted outside. I built Nexus innovations to matter, not become gossip. She's right. She didn't request. This didn't ask Alexander to resurface just as she'd stabilized. Didn't ask for media glare, investor inspection, the tangled feelings his return stirred. She thrived without him. Her firm flourished, daughters content, life ordered as desired. Then Alexander saw them on that beach, and all changed, not just for him, but her too. For the woman who could have barred him, but allowed him to meet his daughters. The woman who could have demanded support recognition recompense for 6 years solo parenting, but never did. Never used her children as leverage. Never descended to his business world's level. I'm sorry, Alexander says words still alien to a man who never apologized. Never admitted fault-built identity on correctness. These 2 words signal a profound change. I never considered my choices' impact on you. Not 6 years ago, not now. That's our difference, Sophia replies. No blame, just fact. I've always considered choices' effects on others. Women lack selfishness, luxury, mothers even less. The weight of those words, the privilege Alexander never scrutinized, the freedom he assumed, the duties he evaded, while she bore alone. The advent of Alexander's mother adds depth to this evolving dynamic. Chen Lihua, who returned to Japan years ago unable to assimilate American ways and unwilling to witness her son's metamorphosis into a stranger. Their bond strained sporadic calls from obligation, not connection. But grandchildren news alters all. Of course, while Alexander built empire, his mother mourned the family she thought impossible, the offspring she believed her career-obsessed son would never give. The Chen line continuation she despaired of. You should have told me, she says, arriving at Alexander's hotel, expression mingling joy and rebuke. 6 years, Alexander. 6 years I could have known them. I didn't know either, Ikithop, he admits. Sophia never told. His mother's eyes narrow with that unique maternal judgment. And why would she tell a man who left her, who chose wealth over love? Did you expect begging? Alexander has no retort, no excuse, revealing less than his selfishness, no rationale making him less villain. The first meeting between Chen Lihua and her granddaughters is magical. The strict woman who raised Alexander with ancient values and high standards melts at 2 solemn little girls with her son's eyes and Sophia's smile. Within minutes, she's teaching them paper lantern folding, speaking Japanese, gently vowing to impart childhood games. Alexander forgot in future pursuit. They have your tenacity, she tells Alexander later. But her spirit, thank heavens. The scene in Sophia's living room, his mother teaching his daughters traditions. He ignored Sophia watching with wary acceptance. The family he never envisioned forming fills Alexander with unprocessable emotions. Joy for beginnings, grief for missed pride in the brilliant girls Sophia raised, shame he wasn't there. I miss so much, he says quietly. Their first word steps everything. Yes, Sophia agrees, no sugarcoating. You did? Do you think they can forgive? Sophia watches Isla's delight successfully folding a lantern. Children forgive remarkably. The question is self-forgiveness. Can he? Can the man who left love for ambition forgive himself for lost years, missed moments the load Sophia carried while he chased valuations and dominance and global conquest? The corporate world doesn't halt for personal revelations. While Alexander maps fatherhood, Victoria's father strikes next. He's approaching Nexus investors. Victoria reports in their 4th secret meeting a strange partnership, ex-fiancé and ex-girlfriend, united against mutual foe. Suggesting your tie to Alexander is conflict implying family focus jeopardizes returns. It's shrewd not direct at twins too blatant after Alexander's board stand. Instead attack Sophia's firm independent success, achieved without Alexander. Sophia receives news with the poise of a storm-weathered woman. Let him, she says, reviewing investor roster. Nexus has surpassed every forecast last 4 quarters. Our quantum encryption is 3 years ahead. Personal life, irrelevant. But in tech funding, perception often overrides reality. By Thursday, 4 small investors withdraw, citing leadership concerns. By Tuesday, tech sites speculate on Nexus future, questioning if Sofia Rodriguez can sustain momentum amid high-profile reunion with quantum billionaire Alexander Chen. The twins with children's uncanny sensitivity absorb tension like sponges. They notice whispers, worried looks, heightened security. They sense their ordered world shift, even if uncomprehending. Are you leaving again? Isabella asks Alexander one evening during bedtime stories, her earnest eyes searching for truth. Reassurance, the vow she needs. The query pains Alexander physically. These girls don't recall his first departure. They weren't born. But they know the tale of the father who chose career over mother. The man in America building vital tech, the absence shaping their lives before speech. I promise, Alexander says, kneeling to eye level. No matter work, business, anything, I'm staying with you. Isla, your mother. Understand? Isabella assesses a child, learn not to trust adult vows lightly. Pinky promise? She asks, extending her finger. Alexander links, sealing his life's paramount pact. Pinky promise. The Nexus board meeting unfolds as Victoria predicted. 5 key investors voicing worries about Sophia's focus. Subtle hints her Alexander link might compromise secrets or tactics. Suggestions a seasoned CEO might better guide expansion. Sophia faces with the steady confidence that built a $350 million firm from scratch. Gentlemen, she says, and yes, all men, Alexander notes from room's rear. I've been single mother running this since start. Never missed target, never fail promise. Personal life never affected, performance won't. But situation changed, one argues. Publicity complexity. The only change, Sophia interjects, is I've raised twins while building this 6 years. Difference is, it's public. Her words linger, daring admission of true issues, not capability focus, but discomfort of powerful men facing a woman defying control. Alexander watches with awe. This woman, once his equal in quantum sessions, matching his brilliance, has become more in absence, stronger, unbreakable. Next morning, Alexander decides, not calculation algorithm, just the choice honoring his daughter's promise. I'm resigning as CEO of Quantum Nexus, he announces at hasty hotel lobby press conference. Effective immediately. I'll retain majority via Chen Trust, but operations transition to COO Sarah Kim. Journalists erupt. Alexander silences with a hand. 6 years ago, I chose between happiness and ambition. I chose wrong. I missed my daughter's birth early years, missed watching the woman I loved build success, pursued wealth influence at cost of what matters. He pauses, cameras capturing. I won't repeat. Globally, tech leaders watch stunned as the dominant, ruthless visionary dismantles his legend. Financial repercussions immediate. Quantum Nexus drops 15% first hour. Rivals capitalize on weakness. Pundits predict ruin. Alexander indifferent. For first time since founding, ticker numbers mean nothing. The man who built on data predictions cold human behavior calculus has learned some things unquantifiable matter more than metrics. This is more than business redemption transformation, man. Choosing love over ambition, presence over power, family over fortune. If his story touched you, if you believe second chances and love's power to change, hardened hearts, subscribe to follow this family's journey. You didn't have to. Sophia says that evening at her condo twins, a bed day's thrill a zoo trip with grandma exhausting them. Yes, I did, Alexander replies. I promised Isabella I wouldn't leave. And fighting for Quantum Nexus, I wasn't fully here with them. He hesitates, adds, with you. Sophia ignores the last. Of course, the woman who raised twins alone while tech building doesn't melt at change signs. Doesn't trust easily forget 6 years, silence, absence, solo everything while he conquered. Your company survives without CEO you. Mine might not. Victoria's father still leverages your investors. Not anymore. She raises brow awaiting explanation. I've called using remaining influence. Your 4 departed investors replaced with new women-led, VC-backing female founders. Unconnected to Victoria's father, unmanipulable. Sophia's face shifts surprise to suspicion. What did they want for sudden interest? Nothing you weren't delivering growth innovation ROI. Alexander smiles faintly. They're businesswomen, Sophia not philanthropists. Invested because your firm brilliant. You're brilliant. For first time since re-entry, Sophia's expression softens. Not forgiveness that takes time, but trust start foundation for what follows. Thank you, she says simply. 2 words as unfamiliar to her as sorry to him. 2 empire builders alone learning interdependence language, 1 phrase at a time. 2 brilliant minds who once coded together, now decoding something complex, rebuilding broken. Meanwhile, Victoria probes her father's practices, years underestimated, treated decorative, not smart, giving info access few have. He's manipulated shares via offshore, she explains, spreading docs on Alexander's hotel table, using insider to short before takeovers, bribing in markets to block rivals, including yours, Sophia's. Alexander studies quantum mind calculating implications, vulnerabilities, leverage. This destroys him not just professionally, legally. Yes, why show me he's your father? Victoria's laugh humorless. Father stopped being father day he saw me as business asset. I was 18. Since I've been bargaining tool strategic marriage deployed, her voice steals. Like he's using Sophia's children, now your children. The parallel strikes Alexander ruthless businessman, seeing daughter as corporate tool, ruthless businessman, abandoning pregnant girlfriend for advancement. Different forms of toxic drive willingness to sacrifice connection for power. What do you want with this? Alexander asks, knowing questions weight, that her answer defines her future as his beach revelation defined his. I want to stop him, Victoria says. Not destroy, just stop hurting people using kids as leverage, treating humans as profit variables. Alexander nods, recognizing moral win, not vengeance, justice, protection. A boundary this far, no more. 7 months pass. Seasons shift, lives readjust to new priorities, insights, setups. Quantum Nexus, against predictions, doesn't fall without Alexander's daily hand. Under Sarah Kim, it evolves less aggressive, more cooperative, still innovative, but with ethical frame, considering human alongside profit. Alexander stays board chair, advising as needed, but focus shifted. Nexus Innovations thrives with new partners. Sophia's encryption engine industry norm her style case study worldwide. She expands offices, but keeps same modest condo, some things trump symbols. Alexander's condo 3 blocks from Sophia's, close for daily daughters, respectful of space. Sophia earned through independence. He doesn't push, doesn't rush. Healing focuses, proving daily his choice. Permanent, trustable, he'll never vanish. The twins adapt resiliently. For them, father from abstract to daily, helping homework, teaching quanta building star models, attending events with determination, making up lost time. They call him Alexander, not dad he accepts. Names less important than presence, trust rebuilt daily. Alexander's mother practically resides with Sophia, unlikely bond between Japanese grandma and Hispanic American CEO becoming true friendship. Lihua teaching girls, Japanese cuisine traditions, filling cultural gaps, Alexander neglected. Sophia accepts graciously, understanding roots' importance for direction. And Victoria's father evidence, never public, instead to his board, with Victoria's resignation from family biz, her women founders' incubator launch. Message, clear reform or expose. He reforms, retiring, 7 months later, health reasons. Some justice prevention, not punishment, ending cycle this generation? The Bali return wasn't Alexander's idea. Isla's the quieter twin, now 6, asking over breakfast. Can we go back to the beach where you saw us? Mom showed pictures. I want to build a better star sandcastle. So simple, profound return to change a site, not to rewrite, but acknowledge, build new, on transformation ground. Same golden sand, blue water, different people, all altered by 7-month journey. Twins racing ahead with buckets, debating sandcastle designs. Alexander and Sophia trailing close, but not touching space, charged with history potential, cautious optimism. They're flourishing. Alexander observes, watching Isabella organize supplies precisely, while Isla starts ambitious base. You did that, gave foundation security. We're doing now. Sophia corrects, no longer erasing his role. Acknowledgement of effort, commitment through choice. They sit on sand, watching daughters build silence comfortable, where once pained with accusation, regret. 7 months co-parenting, rediscovering each other, not as young quantum lovers, but adults separation forged. Learning trust, not blindly, eyes open. When Alexander reaches for same shell as Sophia hands, brush neither withdraws immediately. Contact electric familiar new. Isabella asked last night if you're my boyfriend. Sophia says, smile teasing lips. What did you say? Adults complicated. We're friends caring for each other, them. Relationships build time properly. Alexander nods, accepting. Are we building? Sophia doesn't direct answer. Picks shell, their hands touched, examining spiral. I was so angry for years. Imagine speeches if I saw you ways to make you understand hurt. And now I see you needed that choice to become who could make different. The Alexander who left 6 years wasn't father ready, wasn't ready. Choose family over ambition. She places shell in sandcastle wall. Maybe I wasn't ready either, trust completely, build lasting. And now, Alexander asks question-laden. Sophia looks at him, weariness, guarding eyes, months softened, to new not youth's passion, deeper tempered by experience, growth, choice. Now we're building sandcastles with daughters on beach we never expected. I'd say start. The message arrives during Tokyo flight, not threat opportunity. Offer to resume Quantum Nexus CEO, full control, triple prior pay. Board unanimous, company needs vision, leadership, genius. Name terms. 7 months ago, Alexander would have accepted instantly, empire summoning, emperor, algorithm restored. Now he looks across jet aisle to twins sleeping beach weary. Isabella's head on Sophia's shoulder, eyeless sprawled, star model clutched. His family, word no longer strange, theoretical. Reality more complex, challenging, rewarding than any quantum creation. What will you tell? Sophia asks, quietly, reading over shoulder. No accusation pressure, just curiosity on choice. What advise? Alexander asked, genuine interest in her view. Brilliant mind, once partnered, whose acumen built firm, rearing children alone. Can't for you. Not for me, your opinion as CEO parent what we're becoming. Sophia considers gaze from sleeping twins to man re-entered 7 months ago. Proven choice, real priorities shifted. I think, she says, many brilliant minds can run quantum nexus. Many execs increase value drive innovation. She pauses. But only 2 can be Isabella and Isla's parents. Adds, and only one father their starting trust. Alexander nods, words settling. What about us when ye? Question hovered months. Sophia's smile, slow, tentative, real. I think could be. Not before something new on who we now, not then. Alexander looks at gleaming screen offer Billion's global sway empire returned on platter. 6 years ago, he chose ambition over love, left Sophia's loft. Pre-dawn convinced visions required sacrifice, success, singular focus, emotion, weakness, unaffordable. Now watching Sophia gently stroke Isabella's hair, shifting sleep, Alexander understands true wealth, success, strength. He types response 2 words impossible for former self. I decline. Close his laptop, reaches across, takes Sophia's free hand. Bridge between seats, lives past future. I already have everything, he says simply. As plane descends to Tokyo toward life, carefully building together, Alexander Chen, once ruthless quantum visionary sacrificing love for ambition, finally grasps heart's complex algorithm.